Let's do this.
There's an old myth about if you leave a penny on there, you'll derail the train.
Whoa.
I love watching everyone get into the music in the background. I think it might be one of my favorite parts. Hello, everyone. Yeah. It feels like a Friday because we normally do the show on Fridays, but does it feel like a Friday to anyone else?
It does feel like a Friday.
It has perpetually felt like Friday for me every day of this week.
That's the best take, actually. You're right. It's been like 9 months of Friday. That's how I feel.
So normally the show is on a Friday and we talk about the WGT challenge just being open already for people to join in, but it's not Friday, it's a Wednesday. So Christmas Day through Sunday, December 27th, we'll be hosting the Hole-in-One Challenge at Erin Hills Golf Course. All country clubs can participate, and better yet, anyone can join. That's right. All you have to do is join the DNVR 4 Country Club. If you haven't played yet, go to Erin Hills Golf Course and then enter the closest to the whole challenge. Submit your screenshot on our pinned tweet thread on DNVR_sports on Twitter, or email them to info@thednvr.com. We talked about it last week. I'm still bad, and Harrison somehow got 200. He hit 200. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
Wait, he went sub 200?
No, I think it was like 205.
Oh no, so close. Almost
Still.
Impressive. Almost
Still.
impressive.
I was an angry emoji at him. I tweeted at him like, "How?" I don't understand. I don't get it.
Have you broken 300 yet, Adam?
We're here to have fun. We're here to have fun, guys. I'm honestly, I'm choking on the 9th, and every single one. It's like I'm actually in my own head about WGT right now because I'll be 50 points under on the 9th, and I'm like, I got it, and then I'll just shank it right into the water and be like 500. It's so bad.
All right, so Adam's not taking the buzzer beater. Got it.
I think the lowest I've gotten was like 405 or something. So it's a rough one, but
well,
it's
like so fun though.
Spencer is very quiet right now for a reason.
I'm so bad at it. It's tragic how bad I am at WGT.
That's amazing.
Hey, can I give it?
You would think you might be good at it.
Yeah, you would think.
I'm not good at video games in general. Anything with my hands is usually not ideal.
Okay.
I gotta give a shout out real quick though. I gotta give a shout out to my guy Max Goldie here, he's like in every single one of our Nuggets chat. Just signed up for a membership. Hell yeah, man!
Oh yeah, he is an incredible member. He's in all of our the fantasy football shows, bet shows. He's always hanging out. We really appreciate you, Max.
Yep.
I also feel like he's got some real Nuggets energy, like Maxi Minor, and then like Gold.
Gold. Oh, you're right. Yeah. That's a great point.
So, don't forget to download WGT Golf today. You can do that on DNVRgolf.com. Come play these fun games with us. They really are fun, even though they can be frustrating. But then you enter to win. All you have to do is play the game. You don't have to beat it. And you get entered to win a free t-shirt and a mask, and we ship it to you. So definitely check out WGT Golf today. Welcome into the Denver Sports Podcast, presented by Breckenridge Brewery. Rudo, you are drinking the Breck Brew. Which one is yours today? Vanilla?
VPJ.
The VPJ, baby.
In honor of the Nuggets today.
I already drank all the Christmas ones I had, so the VPJ is a good secondary Christmas one.
There you go.
That is.
One of the questions that was so today we are doing, like you guys could tell from the title, Off the Rails Christmas Special. Plus, we'll touch on some Nuggets stuff at the end of the show since they played today their first game of the regular season. But one of the questions that we had from our members was, what is everyone's favorite Breck brew? So, Rudo, I'll start with you. Which one's your absolute favorite?
Man, it changes a lot. Like it just, I usually just get the 12 can sampler, the 15 bottle sampler pack, and it just ends up being whatever the random extra one they put in is every time. So it's rotated between the Christmas beer, the Strawberry Sky, and their Palisade Peach one is so good. Oh my god! I think probably the Palisade Peach is my favorite right now.
That's a great pick.
Really good. Adam, what about you? Which one's your all-time favorite Breck brew?
Well, since he took Palisade Peach, I'll go with Mountain Beach. I like the Mountain Beach one, especially from the bar. Like in a glass, every drink is different depending on what you get it in. If you get it in the tall member glass, it's like somehow the best drink on earth.
Mine will still and forever. I'm going to take it right because I know you're going to choose that one too. But mine is Strawberry Sky. I had it the first time we went to Breckenridge Brewery, and it was just so freaking good. If I'm at the liquor store and I'm looking for a beer or the grocery store, then I'm gravitating towards that Strawberry Sky. But like you guys said, you really can't go wrong. Their Christmas ale is really, really good too.
That is not what I was going to say because I invented my own beer, and that's my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
The Arcade Special is
the hot pink IPA.
It has all of the allure of the Strawberry Sky with higher alcohol content, and I feel like I can do like 4 in a row, which is always an important characteristic of a beer for me.
Member size or regular size?
If you do 4 member size, you're set for the night. Maybe beyond set. So probably just 4 regular.
Spencer, which is your favorite Breck brew? Sorry, you guys can hear, obviously, I'm at the bar, so there's a lot of noise coming off of Colfax, so I just apologize. We've got ambulances, cop cars, phone ringing. Just wanted to apologize in advance. Spence, which is your favorite Breck brew?
My favorite Breck brew is probably the Hot Peak IPA. I do love the Strawberry Sky if I'm like trying to have a chill night, but if I'm trying to get drunk, it's Hot Peak IPA. 3 of those member size glasses, I'm good. I'm cooked.
Rick in the comments saying I'm about to drink my first Hot Peak IPA.
All right, Rick.
Georgia.
Wow.
All right.
Oh, look at the clapping. Amazing. Scott Carpenter says Mile High Copper Lager for me. That's definitely a good one. And Drew Kreisman in the comments, he's normally on the show. He responded to us. I just now realized I'm not on this show today. But
That's
his favorite is Juice Drop. It is his new favorite. We just got some of those in the office, and the Juice Drop is pretty darn good.
If he was on the show, he would be just now realizing he was on the show as well.
Now that in the comments they're talking Rockies, exactly. Like I said earlier, we are answering questions from the DNVR Lounge, and if you want to get into the DNVR Lounge, you must become a member. And we've got a lot of questions. I don't know if we're going to be able to get to all of them, but our members always pull through. When I ask them for things, they're always like, "Oh, here's 50 questions for you guys to answer." So I think I'm going to go with the travel one as my first one because this one's pretty good. Once the pandemic is over, eventually, what's the first place you're going to book a vacation to? I will assume it's Sombor, Serbia for Adam. So Adam, I'll let you start.
How did he know? Honestly, so this was actually supposed to be in the plans for this year. I think it in some ways maybe works out better that it'll be next year, but I'm hopeful that next August, September, sometime in there, DNVR Nuggets crew is going to take a trip to Serbia and do like a whole tour of Serbia, like this, like on scene, film some videos, do some live shows and stuff. So that's certainly high on. I don't know if it's the number 1 place, but it might work out that it is. So yeah, you guessed right. Sombor.
I hope you guys know that I'm inviting myself on that trip.
Of course, we might just have a whole DNVR crew.
Yeah, we were supposed to go to London for the Broncos Falcons game this year, and I was going to try to get as many DNVR people as we could possibly get to go down there. Get like a mansion, like Airbnb would have been awesome.
It's so sad because we had such fun plans for that. I talked to Michael over at Broncos Europe about it. We had talked about doing live podcasts, live shows at some of the iconic like pubs out there, and it just didn't work out. But hopefully it will. Maybe next year. Maybe next year we're just going abroad, guys. Maybe that's like our movie title. We're going to Serbia. We're going to London. We're checking it all out. But Spencer, once this pandemic is over, where is the first place you are booking a vacation to?
First place I'm going to go is to Fiji. I was supposed to go to Fiji end of February this year, but they're still not allowing any international travel. But we have plans to do like a big drive live and podcast from one of my members at the golf course. He owns a resort there called Salt Lake Lodge. So we get free stay
on that trip as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, it fits up to like 20 to 20 people. He has 3 or 4 houses on a river. You can go fishing, do all that stuff. So it's all free other than getting there. So
see, Adam froze from just excitement of that. He was just like, whoa.
Am I frozen?
You're unfrozen now.
Okay, good.
Rudo, where are you going the second you can?
So it's one of 2 options. One, Cole Harbor, Nova Scotia for McKinnon's Day with the Cup.
Oh, I see what you did there.
2, I was supposed to go to Japan in July, and obviously that didn't work out. So as the most weeb person at DNVR, Japan would be very cool to actually get to go to.
That would be really cool. Ryan, what about you?
Well, anyone who knows me knows that like once I have something I really like, I never feel the need to change it. It's one of my biggest problem. Restricts me in ways, but like I just love Cabo. Like I can't get enough of Cabo. So I will be going, and not specifically Cabo San Lucas, but San Jose del Cabo is the spot for me. It's like just the best weather and the best Mexican food. Like those are my 2 favorite things, and golf.
And golf. That's a good one. Cabo is amazing. The first place I want to go to once this pandemic is over is Ecuador. For some people who might not know, I was actually born in Ecuador, in Quito, so I have a bunch of family there, and I would love to go see them. It's been a while, and when I would go when I was little, I just wouldn't take advantage of it. I feel like that's the story with all kids. You don't really take advantage of the culture and what you're seeing, and I love going as an adult and like really experiencing it because it's just super different, and highly recommend. And Galapagos Islands, that's like my dream to go check that out before things are kind of too late for global warming and all that stuff. So that's a sad note to end on. But
great birds there, Adam.
Great what?
Bird.
Great birds.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Fantastic birds.
The animals there are wild. Like they're just so unique and so special. It's insane.
They are quite literally wild.
It was the finches on Darwin's journey to the Galapagos that really solidified his understanding of evolution. So it's a great point. Great point, RK. It's a little nugget for you.
Okay. Moving on. We are not going down bird podcast live stream. That's not what we're doing today. But a bunch of people in the Discord in the DNVR Lounge brought up a map that one of our members made that has all of it doesn't have every member, but it has a few that have reached out to Flo to add onto a map of where DNVR subscribers are all around the world. It's super, super cool. Flo, that was an incredible idea. So if you are a member and you want to be added on that map, definitely reach out to him, or you can write in the members chat and just tag him, because that's pretty dope. I mean, it's cool to see right now. I wonder if I can pull it up.
Would you call it the flow chart? It just ignores me.
I'm not encouraging it. So
I want you guys to know that the chat is clamoring for more bird talk, but it's your show. Yeah. It's your show.
Many people are saying this.
Many people are.
Drew Creasman. That is all. All right, I'm going to try and pull this up, but I'm going to move on to another question so that you guys can talk while I try and pull this up. Best place for Mexican food in Denver?
Oh, hell yeah.
Go for it, Adam.
So I got 2 favorites. One is a staple. If you're an old Denver person, especially if you're from the north side, Las Delicias is like the best beans, which is the staple of, most Mexican food. So that's number one. But number two is a little hole in the wall for me up in Thornton called Nogales, Los Nogales. So I got two, but Las Delicias is the one that if you're like a true Denver, grew up in Denver, you've probably eaten there. You probably love it.
Good answer. There's so many good ones. The first thing that came to my mind, and it's a little outside of Denver, but Los Dos Portillos. They're just incredible. The best molcajete, I believe, that I've had in this area. And then I have to give a shout out to our neighbors right across the bar, Pinche Tacos. They have incredible tacos, and they're in the neighborhood, so they deserve a nice little shout out.
They are so good. Probably some of the best guac I've had. And also, if you don't find it when you look that up, their other name is whiskey tequila taco.
Tacos tequila whiskey.
Okay, pretty much the same thing, just a different.
Well,
word.
if you're already talking about people having a hard time Googling it, you should at least get the words in the correct form.
Okay, my apologies. They have some of the best guac I've had, and then they have really good churros too, so definitely check that out. All right, I found the map, guys. I found the map. Look at that. So we have people from all over the world, and that's not all. So if you want to be added onto this list, definitely reach out in the members chat. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We definitely have.
We definitely have way more than this. This is like the early. This is super early. It's like day one. We have, because I know we've got people all over the Middle East, South America,
I know we have
even
people in South America too.
Yeah, I need my Nordic Avs boys to step up and get on this map.
Yeah, but it's just it's the early days of the map, so it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So
go
join. This was a great idea by Flo once again. So thank you very much. All right, next. Does anyone else have good places for Mexican? Rudo?
Burrito Express down in Lakewood, the best breakfast burrito in the state.
Wow.
And horchata to die for as well.
You have my attention.
You gotta go. Yeah, it's really tiny place just off Alameda in Lakewood. Oh, it's so good.
Being on Alameda alone gives it some cred.
There you go. Yeah.
Flo is in the comments here saying he called it the DNVR family because it is. We are all family. Rick said first place I want to go to in Colorado is a DNVR bar. Max in here saying Casa Bonita is the best. Bonita, as he wrote.
Look, I know we just gave him a shout out earlier, but we might have to boot. I mean, one strike, you're out on this.
Eric in the comments saying the Corazon or Benny's. I haven't heard of either of those.
Chubby's, huh? Chubby's is a really bold choice here.
Oh, Albuquerque in the comments. Argentina too. New Mexico. Oh, Denver doesn't have New Mexico chili. Yeah, that's because Colorado has Colorado chili.
From New Mexico. It's really good.
Yeah, they steal the Hatch chilies.
Well, we also have our Pueblo chilies, but we don't need to go down that road.
Next question is cheese whiz or no on your Philly cheesesteak. And they said, Ali Monroy, you already should know the answer. Of course, I can't have cheese anymore because I'm allergic. But when I did, cheese whiz all the way. Or like Will Parks told Ryan in an interview, it's just called cheese.
That's my favorite quote I've ever had in an interview from a player. Just the way he said it was so perfect. He's like, y'all keep calling it cheese whiz. That's not what we call it. It's like, what do you call it? He just goes, cheese.
It's gross.
It's
really
so
gross.
good.
No,
it's
you
not.
need it.
It's definitely not good.
Have you had a Philly cheesesteak in Philly?
No.
When you go,
actually, I might have.
You have to get it with the cheese whiz. It's not really like what you think it is. It's not actually cheese whiz. Like they don't like bring out a can and like line the bread with it. Like it's just melted cheese.
It is so good. You need it. And when you go to Philly, the place I recommend the most is Jim's. That's my favorite. There's so many good places. I do not like Pat's or Gino's. It's just the tourist place. Like you're not going to get the best cheesesteaks. So my favorite is Jim's, which is around that area. But there's a bunch of other places that make cheesesteaks in a bunch of different ways. But Cheese Whiz has to be a must. Spencer, Rudo, have you guys had a Philly cheesesteak?
Yeah, I've Taste of Philly. I don't know how good Taste of Philly is compared to someone that's actually from Philly. Probably not, but that's my favorite place to go for a cheesesteak, and you got to get the Cheese Whiz on it. I too don't eat very much cheese, but when I do, I make it worth it. So.
I make it worth it, and I go for Cheese Whiz.
Am I the only person who's eaten actual Cheese Whiz on this show?
Oh, I've had Cheese Whiz. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, on cracker?
On a cracker?
Yeah,
So, like,
delicious. It's amazing. I don't know, like what's the problem here? I don't get it.
But you wouldn't put it on a sandwich.
I would. You can't mess up cheesesteak. Like it's fine.
There you go. See? So he would obviously have it with the Cheese Whiz. So yes, everyone is saying Cheese Whiz. Adam, I feel like maybe in Philly he would have a cheesesteak with Cheese Whiz.
So I will try, honestly, this is my thing. I would rather have bad, unique food, like as an experience, than just like good, the same food. So if I'm in Philly, even if it's horrible, I would try it because I'm like, you know what, I can get a good cheesesteak.
It's not horrible because I go to gyms now. And I'm allergic to cheese, so I just get I got a steak sandwich with no cheese, and it's still incredible. I still crave it to this day. I'm sad I can't have that right now. All right, we're gonna just finish off the food drink questions. Who's the heaviest drinker at DNVR, and who is the lightweight?
Okay, well, if the question is who has gotten the most drunk at the DNVR bar, that person is also on this panel.
Spencer!
Oh, I think he lost us.
He can't hear us.
He's looking at the screen like old people look at a red box.
It's what he looks like when he gets smashed at the bar. So.
Can you hear us, Spencer?
Look at him.
Okay.
Just trying to figure it out.
All right, but okay. So the question is, who is the heaviest drinker? I think we would say Rudo.
Yeah,
for sure.
Once upon a time, Drew was keeping up with me, but these days I don't know.
Hey, he just got a bunch of juice drops. So
there you go. I need you to chug to make me the non-alcoholic Drew.
Now, so do we all agree it's Rudo?
For sure.
Yeah.
I still go.
In my experience,
my vote goes to Spencer.
The heaviest drinker. I think Spencer does compete with you, Rudo.
I'll take any competition I can get. All right.
Mitchell is the only person to show up just pissed drunk on the DNVR Nuggets podcast, so maybe it's Mitchell.
Well,
I asked him one time because I didn't know he was like drunk, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to be on the show?" And he's like, and then we get on the show, and he's like, I was like, "Oh my god! All right, here we go."
And mid-show, he was like, "Yeah, guys, I'm effing hammered," and you guys are like, "Oh!"
I hopped on the DNVR Nuggets podcast pretty hammered once, but I didn't realize I was hammered, and then I left the bar, and Allie was with me, and like I was like stumbling around, and then I was like about to go to bed, and I was like, "Oh my god! Like, did I embarrass myself on the Nuggets podcast?" I like messaged you guys. You guys were like, "No, we couldn't even tell you were that hammered." I was just like, "Oh, thank God."
This man was he just didn't eat. It was like during a playoff game, like an intense playoff game where the Nuggets won, and so he didn't eat any food, and he was fine. He was fine. And then we're like packing for a trip, and he is tripping over everything, like falling. I'm like, dude, go to bed. Stop this right now. You need to sleep.
Something about the playoffs, like we kept it together. The game the Avs got eliminated, but after the show, AJ and I just got smashed that night, man. It was brutal.
Who is the lightweight?
I might honestly be me pound for pound. Like when I drink, I don't like to drink unless drinking has a purpose. It's to get drunk. So like I'll do it, but every blue moon, like I don't, not a big drinker. So it might be me.
Every one blue moon gets you drunk.
One blue moon gets me drunk, exactly.
I don't know about Justin, so I don't know because we haven't drank with Justin enough to know Justin. His tolerance is building because of the tailgate.
If you cover college, I think by default you have to be able to drink some.
True. Yeah, also, they're like right out of college, so they're in prime, in their prime, in their drinking prime.
Oh, Drew is in the comments saying Patrick Lyons almost never partakes. So yeah, maybe it's Patrick. I really don't know because I'm a big tequila drinker, which the next question is, what is your go-to cocktail? And I try and get everyone to take tequila shots with me, and pretty much everyone agrees at least one or they switch it to Jaeger. That's Eric.
Jaeger.
AJ,
No, I'm on the Jaeger train
Bruto
for sure.
rather take a Jaeger shot than a tequila shot, which disgusts me, but to each their own. So I think everyone partakes a little bit, but I don't know who's the biggest lightweight. My go-to cocktail is a double tequila soda with a splash of lime. Nice, easy, to the point. Spencer, what about you?
You mean it's a splash of what is it? Grapefruit juice? No, pineapple juice.
It's just
you said a splash of lime.
Okay, then
that
2
make
limes.
any sense.
Put them
There
in
you go.
there.
My go-to is definitely just vodka soda. Big Tito's guy. Tito's and soda with like an orange. Like if I want to change it up, it's either an orange or a lime or a lemon. That's about as off the rails as I go.
We have a bottle of Tito's upstairs that hasn't been touched. What are you doing?
Give it
Come get
a
to
week,
work.
it'll be gone.
Adam, what is your go-to cocktail?
Old fashioned. I'm classy guy. You know.
That's so Adam.
It is so
That
Adam.
is so Adam.
Classy over here. But no. Like I said, I don't drink much, so I don't really have like a strong take here. It's one's easy.
But this is just like your go-to cocktail. It doesn't mean to get drunk. Maybe you're just like you're at a restaurant and you want to order a cocktail.
I established I don't really like to drink except for to get drunk. So there's no drink that I just like to sit there and BS with. But if I was, it would be an old fashioned. 9 times out of 10.
Rudo, what's yours? Cocktail. You can't choose beer.
Screwdriver. Easy.
Yeah,
Okay.
Respect.
basic,
Ryan?
simple.
So, this is an interesting one for me. Anyone who knows me knows that if I have a drink in front of me, it will be gone very soon. So there's something that I can't stomach about spending $12 on a drink that I'm gonna enjoy for like 18 seconds. Like I just have it in my hand, I take like a bunch of sips, and then it's just gone. So I don't like cocktails that much unless you count just whiskey as a cocktail, just straight whiskey. Like that's what I've come to be as my favorite cocktail because it's the only thing that I can't drink that fast. So whiskey on the rocks, or like a nice big whiskey rock in there, that'll at least slow me down so I can enjoy the drink for like 30 minutes.
That's a solid one.
And it gets you where you're going, to Adam's point.
And people
where you're
in
going for sure.
the comments and post-game shows know it's the Winsky.
Winsky, yep. Excited to bring that back for some Nugget shows.
Was that an actual? Did you actually call it Winsky, or were you just so drunk that you tried to say whiskey and it came out Winsky and it ended up
No,
perfect?
It's been his bit.
it started with Eric calling me Winningsburg because I only came on post-game Nugget shows after they won. And then, that character has to have their go-to drink, which is the Winsky.
Reading some of these comments real quick. People writing down their favorite drinks. You got a lot of whiskey in there. Rick said, I remember RK's Drunken Nuggets Winners Lounge. And then someone, Johnny said, Mitch made quite an impression. That was awesome. Max is saying, Eric D-Line is the happiest drinker. He's so funny. That's true. He just sits there and smiles. And then, hell yeah, Adam, old fashions are great. Before we keep going to the rest of the comments, DraftKings Sportsbook, guys, there are some awesome player props and Nuggets bets that you can get into before the Nuggets game today. The DNVR Bets Daily Crew, so Ryan and Andre did an hour show telling you guys all the bets you can't miss and the bets you should stay away from, the ones that are the cheese.
The cheese whiz.
So you should check that out. Ryan, what is your one bet that you recommend people placing before this Nuggets game?
Denver Nuggets minus 7.5. Yeah, that would be my most highly recommended bet.
Oh man, I love it.
I got 100 on it already, so.
A hundo.
We speak in units here.
We speak in units. You've got a unit on it. You're a high roller.
I just learned about units now. But DraftKings Sportsbook is doing where you bet $1 or on any featured matchup this week, and if your team wins, you cash a crisp $100. So definitely check that out at DraftKings Sportsbook. What is one bet, Ryan, that you are telling the people to fade, stay away from? It is the cheese. I
don't know. I block those out of my brain. Once they're cheese, they don't even exist to me anymore. So I don't have an answer for you.
So go check out the podcast or the live show on YouTube, because then you can catch all of the bets for this weekend and Christmas Day and bowl games. We have so many things that you could bet on, and DraftKings Sportsbook is the best place to do so. They give you free money. They give you some fun odds boosts. And like I said, right now, they are offering $1 on any featured matchup this week. If your team wins, you cash a crisp $100. Download that top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app today. And don't forget to use the promo code DNVR. Max just became a member, got that free $5 that we were offering for deal of the week for members, trying to find a parlay he's going to place. The best place to do that is DraftKings Sportsbook. For a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. And then, of course, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700.
I kind of like Jokic 1.5 threes. I kind of like the over tonight. Like, if Whiteside's coming off the bench, but if he's guarding Jokic, he doesn't ever go outside the paint. Jokic will just be open all day. So I kind of like that one. 1.5 threes.
So they have both Jokic and Murray set at 22.5 points. And I said on bets today, I'm just betting both of those every single game until they adjust. Because I just know in most games, at least one of them is going over that. And in a lot of games, both of them are going to go over that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's safe. They might. Last night I took KD and with 26.5 points, and the Nets were up like 30 at half, and he didn't really play, and I was bummed. Might happen tonight. I'm feeling great about the Nuggets, by the way, if you can't tell. So I'm more worried about the Nuggets winning by so much that Jokic and Murray don't get to 23 points.
That's why I thought to take the 7.5.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. All right, let's jump into some holiday questions. We have the first one, a really good question. If you could invite any 2 Denver players to Christmas dinner, who would sit with the adults and who would sit with the kids out of the 2 that you selected? Rudo, let's start with you.
All right, well, the Denim Daddy's sitting with the kids for sure.
Yes. Keeping them in line.
Yeah, easy job there. He's got 2 kids of his own, so Matt Calvert would be great with the kids. With the adults, I think, does it have to be a player?
It does say Denver players.
Because I want to pick Jared Bednar, but he's the coach, not the player. Because
We'll allow it.
Because he's like cut from the adult table. Like, he was the guy who sat at the adult table at age 10.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. There's some comments in, I think, Adam, what you know this better. Is it in Serbian that they're talking in the comments?
Yeah, of course. War Hunt Serbia is, he's speaking Serbian. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And Nikola Puzovic,
also Serbian, yep. If you want me to translate, they're saying, guys, this is an incredible show, and then they responded, absolutely, honestly, Emmy-worthy stuff from the show. That's what it says there.
Yeah.
I think they're also talking a lot of Nuggets stuff.
Nope, it's about the show. They really like it.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan, what 2 players would you invite to Christmas dinner? Who would be sitting at the adults table? Who would be sitting at the children's table?
Well, as seen in multiple videos online, Nikola Jokic is elite with children. So you definitely bring Nikola Jokic. He's like, making them do the airplane around the house, like just having a grand old time. And with the adults, this one's a little tougher for me. I'm going through a bunch of people here, and I haven't landed on someone who I think would be like just great at the adult table. But I guess I'll go with Justin Simmons. Like he feels very equipped for the conversations that would be happening at the adult table, and he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Spence, what about you?
So Jokic with kids was mine. I'll change that. I think for now, Drew Locke's got to sit at the kids' table. He can maybe table next year. But right now he's at the kids' table, and I think I'd have Gabriel Landeskog at the adult table. He just seems like a
good answer.
He's posting so many videos with his daughter on Instagram, and I highly recommend the follow because it is just adorable. And
she's trying to walk away with the presents from under the tree, and so he's pulling him away from her. I watched that last night.
It was so cute.
Someone in the comments said Faku at the kids' table.
Messed
That's
up.
amazing.
So messed up.
Anyone else?
Well, I thought Jokic at the kids' table for sure. I mean, it makes sense. He loves kids. Kids loves him. I think he'd be happier if you gave him a choice, kids' table or adults' table. He'd probably choose the kids' table. And then the
horse table.
He would take the horse stable. Yes, for sure. But the adults' table. I mean, Paul Millsap is nicknamed Dad, so I think he belongs. But he's a lot of dad energy for him at the dad's table.
But then would he be at the kids' table trying to make sure the kids are behaving?
He probably would do the eyeballs, the dad eyeballs a lot over there. Jokic,
hey,
quit throwing food. Come on.
All right.
Sound like the first time you said that.
Next question is, what homemade gifts have you guys given?
Wow.
It looks like someone's looking for some Christmas ideas or some holiday ideas.
The only homemade gifts I ever gave were things that I made in school for my mom.
Yeah, I guess how home.
Oh, it wasn't really homemade.
That's what I was
going
to say. How homemade is it?
I made a book of pictures that I took with. So one year my mom bought me a camera for Christmas, which I really appreciated. The next year for Christmas, I gave her a book of cool pictures that I took with that camera. It's kind of homemade.
Yeah, I would say that's homemade. Rudo, Spence, Adam, any homemade gifts?
One time, my ex-girlfriend and we decided to only give each other homemade gifts. And so I built I built a coffee table out of a pallet, the pallets of wood, that basically you have to take one apart, put the other one together. And I built a coffee table out of that. And I also built a cat tower. So
wow, look at that. You're a handyman.
I was in the garage for a month. And they both said shit.
Rudo, Adam?
No, I learned very early on anything I tried to hand make was a disaster. So we go to the store to buy our Christmas gifts in my house.
Adam, is there anything for you?
I commissioned someone to make something. Does that count? I didn't myself make it. I gave my wife a pillow with our initials on it one time before she was my wife.
Okay, favorite food during the holidays. This is a rapid one. Just quickly, Ryan, start with you. What's your favorite food during the holiday?
I guess I'll just say stuffing.
That's a good one. Spence?
I'm a big prime rib guy during all
Yeah.
Adam, it's not Thanksgiving, so
I know, thank God. Yeah, I do. It's actually my number one meal of the entire year. Every year we do prime rib and king crab legs. It's a tie between both of them.
All right, Rudo?
Super random, but half-baked cookies.
The sugar cookie with the icing?
No. So you go and you get the preset Pillsbury cookie things, and you put them in the microwave for 30 seconds. So they're just a melted pile on this plate, and then you eat them with a spoon. And it's it's gonna kill me for sure,
yeah.
But they're so good.
Oh,
some things are worth dying for.
Some things are worth dying for. That's a great point.
what is your favorite holiday tradition? I have a good one, but it's a bit of a long one, so I'll try and go as fast as I can. My family celebrates, in Ecuador, New Year's is just such a big holiday, and so you spend the beginning part of New Year's with your family. Then once midnight hits and you have a big meal with your family, that's what people eat during Christmas dinner is what you eat during New Year's dinner, at 12:30 in Ecuador, because your first meal of the year must be an extravagant good one, and then you go and hang out with your friends and family, and you go to the bar and stuff. But then you also, right at midnight, you eat 12 grapes and you make a wish on each grape. You run around the block with a bag for good travel.
By far the worst part.
That one's a rough one,
You have to
especially
run.
after chugging champagne and eating all those grapes. You're out of breath running down the stairs. Then you wear red or yellow, red for love, yellow for money. And then what else is it? you put $1 bill under your right shoe for money that year. Then you eat lentils, a spoonful of lentils. I don't know why you do that one. And then you also make this doll where you put a bunch of you write down all the things you want to forget from the past year. So it's kind of like a voodoo doll in a sense. If you look up Ecuador New Year's dolls, they're pretty crazy. They make them human, so big. We make a small one, and then you light it on fire and you jump over it, signifying you're letting go of all of those negative parts of the last year and moving forward into the year. It is so much fun. I feel like that's my favorite thing in the world.
When is this?
New Year's.
Oh, okay.
New Year's Eve.
All right.
Yeah, you said you were going to keep that quick, but there's so
much.
100 different things you do for New Year's.
Yeah, and I feel like because I've spent New Year's away from my family and we've gone to a bar or we've done something, and it's just not as fun. I feel like New Year's is always hyped up, and then it doesn't end up being as fun as you want it to be. And then with all these traditions already put in place, it makes it just so much fun because you're going crazy with your family.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Not bad. My favorite is 4th of July. It's my favorite holiday because it's always right in the dead of summer. It's one of the longest days of the entire year, so you get sunlight till 9:45. And I almost always am up in the mountains camping with a bunch of friends. So it's I don't know if that's a tradition. It's kind of a tradition since it's what I always do. But 4th of July, almost 100% of the time, A+ memory.
4th of July is a good one. Ryan?
I mean, this is so just basic me take, but just this the sporting events that go along with each holiday. I love football on Thanksgiving. I love basketball on Christmas. I love baseball on 4th of July. All of those things are connected and intertwined for me. I love college football on New Year's Day. It's just every holiday has its subsequent sport. That is my favorite part of that holiday, which makes me seem very one-dimensional, and I'm okay with that.
Sports, they're just your thing. Who would have thunk?
Yeah.
Spence, Rudo, what about you guys?
I'm in the same boat there. Normally I go to the New Year's Eve Avs game every year. That's kind of my thing, and then watch the little fireworks on the ice. That's my tradition because they always seem to have that game. I think the last 3 years I've gone to that. And then the same thing, Christmas basketball. I usually wake up in the morning, make about 72 bets on all the basketball games and just watch from start the first one to the finish of the last one.
How could you have done that when sports betting only became legal in Colorado this year?
It's a real question. Wow.
That's its own special podcast.
You made him take a bit of a gulp there.
I always said, on our first few betting pods, I was if I had bet before in my life, these are things that I would have been doing.
Rudo, what is your favorite holiday tradition?
So I have a few. Like everyone else on this show, New Year's Day, World Junior Championships of hockey, always a blast. And then I have my social one, which is the DNVR Friendsgiving, which I was sad that I couldn't come to this year. And then my non-social one is for New Year's, the new trend over the last couple of years where you start a movie at exactly the right time. So at exactly midnight on New Year's Eve, when it switches to New Year's Day, you get the correct theme depending on whatever you want. The one we did last year was the Star Wars scene from episode 2, I think, where Obi-Wan, right at midnight, Obi-Wan comes on scene and says, "Hello there."
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. That's a fun one. Okay, three of us don't have this yet. So, Rudo, Adam, Lindsay wanted to know, what is a wild in-law story around the holidays that you have?
A wild in-law story?
Yes.
Man, I don't want to share these.
Yeah, my in-laws are great people.
I'm not sharing any of these.
Very, very much. That's all I have to say on that one.
Okay, you guys don't blame. Lindsay wanted to know.
Lindsay is I know Lindsay, so I wouldn't have accused someone else of doing this. Lindsay is setting traps out here, and I'm not okay with it.
All right. Some questions that revolve around the job. Someone asked, what's one thing about sports journalism that you don't think most people understand? And I thought of one immediately and wanted to respond to this person, but then Ryan said, save it for the show. The one thing about sports journalism that I don't think most people understand is that we do not get tickets to the game to give to people.
That one's so true.
So many people are like, oh yeah, you're like covering the Nuggets, you're covering the Broncos, like, can I get some tickets? I'm like, no, I have my one ticket.
I also like the hey, can you get this signed by Jokic? I'm like, what does that look like for me to like ask Jokic to sign something in the middle of this? Like, just picture this real quick. What does this look like?
Can I?
You know, one thing I will say on that is if there's a good reason for it, the Broncos have been like really helpful with us with that type of stuff. Like, hey, like, you know, family friend has this charity event. Like, is there a way we could get something like that? So shout out to them for that. But if it's just like, hey, can I get this signed for my buddy's man cave?
Yeah, exactly.
Rudo, do you have anything that you would say?
I don't know. Hockey players are as tall as you think they are. Like, trust me, those dudes are big human beings. You think Sam Girard is small, but like for a small person, he will beat you up.
Okay. What about, is there anything golf related, Spence?
I think the one thing, like, I haven't officially covered a lot of golf tournaments, but the ones I've been to and from the people I've talked to from that are inside, and this is kind of unfortunate, but a lot of golfers are apparently, and I think this can go for all media, not media, but all players in all sports, but they're super fake on camera. And like, they're actually like low key. And golf, I think, is one of those things too, where like golfers are just kind of dicks. And especially like a bunch of the dudes on tour, they like think they like Phil Mickelson. Everybody's like, oh, Phil Mickelson's the nicest dude. I've heard from multiple sources that know him personally that he's a giant dick.
Well, that goes along with the question that I don't know if you guys want to answer this one, but I'm going to read it. And it is, what is an athlete that you think the public has the wrong idea about? That could be negative or positive.
I thought you were going somewhere else after he just called Phil Mickelson a giant dick. And then we were talking about being journalists and, you know.
Oh, my goodness.
What was the question again? What is
an athlete that you think the public has the wrong idea about, negative or positive?
Oh, man.
I can go first if you want to think on this. Go. Because for me, it's Will Barton. He's the ultimate one. Like, people have really gotten upset. I mean, they gotten upset at him for 6 years for this or that reason. But most recently, because he says he's a starter and that starting is important to him. And people are like, I can't believe he would say such a thing. Like, preposterous. But my take on Will Barton, not that he's a perfect human being or anything like that, but his teammates love him first and foremost. But I think more than anything, he just doesn't. He's real. And it's funny how much people want athletes to be real, and the moment they're real in a way that they don't like, they're like, hold on a second, this guy didn't give the Jimmy Chitwood answer. Like, what's going on here? But Will Barton, I just think, is like, doesn't lie or exaggerate. So when you ask him, do you want to start? He's like, yeah, I do. Would you rather I have said, like, the team is the only thing? And he's like, no, I'm one of the best players on this team. What are you talking about? So Will Barton, he's a real one. I think his teammates love him, and he's not all of the things people think about him. He's not that.
I think someone that people have a right idea on is Philip Lindsay is as nice as you think he is, and then same with Justin Simmons. I saw a few people saying, like, is he really that nice though? Because he won the media award for like the second year in a row or third year in a row. And I've got to say, both of those guys are like as nice as you think they are. They're just very like, kind-hearted people.
Yeah, I can only think of negative ones, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to bring those negative vibes here. Like, I feel like most of the guys who are really good guys, like, everyone can tell. And I don't know if I'm trying to think of players on the Broncos who people like might have a bad perception of, like as who they are, and I'm not coming to anyone.
If this is a negative, but I'm not going to say it about any one, but this is especially true, I think, of NBA athletes. And this is coming from a 36-year, almost 37-year-old man, so I'm not maybe the best source for this. I think they're way less cool than people think. And this is just true of people in general, like celebrities or whatever. But I know that there's one famous Nugget who's no longer with the team who would every single game walk in, hand his phone to a security guard, walk out, then walk back in with this like look to him and like pose for the camera. And then you see the pictures on Instagram and it's like, oh man, he looks dressed to the T's. He looks so cool. But when you watch the whole thing, you're like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like he did 20 photos of posing like Zoolander and like, when you watch it, you're like, these dorks. So that's my hot take.
That's amazing. Drew Creason in the comments saying Charlie Blackmon is a very serious person and not the total goofball people think he is.
I feel like he's like Will Ferrell. Like people that know Will Ferrell say like, yeah, he's actually like pretty normal, like not much of a jokester, but like when he wants to be funny, he's hilarious. I feel like that's Charlie Blackmon.
Anyone else you guys can think of before we move on?
Paul Stastny, man. This city has branded him a traitor, and he's such a good dude, and all he wanted to do was go home and play hockey. Like, I feel bad for all the people that hate Paul Stastny because that dude is awesome, and you should not hate him for going to St. Louis.
Okay.
I can't believe it. I feel like I'm missing an opportunity here. Like, this is a really good opportunity to defend someone or something like that, but I'm not. No one's coming to mind. I will say.
I think some people think Drew Lock is extremely like cocky and like just a bit of a douchebag. And when we've interacted with him and met with him, he is very, very nice, remembers everyone, and is just, I think he's just still growing up. Like he's like 23. He's like Henry's age, isn't he? Like,
Yeah. That's a really good one. Like sometimes, especially when you aren't good, people people just reinterpret everything you do as like douchey instead of cool, or like cocky instead of confident. And so I think that's the problem Drew Lock is having right now. But you're right, Drew's a really, really good dude. I've known that since I met him at the Senior Bowl. He was super down to earth. Like we just had a conversation about just normal stuff for like 15 minutes. I was like, this guy's a good guy. So he definitely does not fit that mold. And then one other random one that finally came to my mind is, and I don't know if there's like a bad perception of him, but obviously he didn't succeed in his role, so people hated him, which is John Embry, who was the coach at CU during their worst years of the worst years. And he got a lot of hate, but he is like one of the most genuine, like good dudes out there.
all right, we have quite a few more questions, but we aren't going to go for too much longer. So let's try and get some rapid fire. Spencer, this question is for you, but then a bunch of people said, wait, RK too. So for everyone, but ask Golf Man to break down Tiger Woods' son's swing, please. I know Spencer has a name. I know that, but Golf Man sounds better, to be honest. So Golf Man, break down Tiger Woods' swing, please, but quickly.
So actually, if you want to head over to our pod, Big Drive Energy, Mitchell spent about 10 minutes breaking down this swing. It's a not fundamentally sound golf swing, but he's also, I think he's talking about Tiger Woods' son. Or no, is it? Okay.
Tiger Woods' son.
It's not fundamentally sound, but he's also 11 years old. So it's incredible for an 11-year-old.
Okay, perfect. If the sport you cover didn't, Brian, did you have anything you want to talk about Tiger Woods' son, or are you good?
No, those videos of them with like the same mannerisms are incredible. That's all I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
If the sport you cover didn't exist, what would be your favorite sport, or would you even like sports? Rudo, we'll start with you.
Baseball was my first love, so I would definitely still like sports, but it would definitely, like, no matter what sport I was in, I would be the nerd. Was like, well, according to the stats, technically, if you look at whatever, like, it wouldn't have mattered. I wouldn't be the guy on the couch like, that was a sick play, that was so cool. I'd be the nerd for sure.
All right, Adam.
I mean, I love sports. I used to like really like football the way everybody does. I've kind of fallen out of love with it over the last 5 or 6 years.
I wonder what that coincides with.
The Broncos being just miserable to watch is quite a bit of that, yeah. But even before that, even a little bit before that. But baseball was actually my best sport growing up. It was probably the one I liked playing the most too, for most of my life. So I like sports, man. I watched the rugby. I had like one of my favorite memories of my life was watching was it the Super 14 or the Super 8 or Super 7? I can't even remember what it's called, but like the Super Bowl of rugby at one point. And it was like just so intense and insane, and rugby fans are crazy. I just like sports.
Yeah, for sure. Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same for me. Like, I love every sport. Like, I will literally get hype watching curling in the Olympics. Like, that gets me going. Like, just high-level competition of any sport. Like,
that's not a sport. That is a competition, but
curling,
it's not a sport.
Curling is an S-tier Olympic sport. Okay,
S-tier.
It's one of the best
Olympic sports. It could be a great event, but I mean, as a sport, that's a little
absolutely. That's a terrible take, Adam.
Yeah, you don't have the appreciation for it. The proper like. Right.
You lost the entire Canada.
Canada vote
with that.
Oh man, come on, Adam.
So I think if football I don't have a favorite. Like I really don't. Like I cover football, and that's just kind of like what happened for me. But I also covered basketball when I covered CU when I was younger. Like I loved covering basketball. One thing I loved about covering basketball is the team is smaller, so you can like actually like know the whole team and like kind of get to know them, which I thought was kind of cool. But hockey, I also like. Hockey is just so great. So it could be any for me. And baseball has like the coolest media availability of anyone. So, like I could do it all.
For me, I started off covering football and covering the Buffs and basketball. But I think for me, if I couldn't cover or talk about football, it would be hockey. That would move on to being my favorite sport. Spence, what about you?
I actually like golf the least out of any of the major sports that there are. And that's I'm serious. Like basketball, baseball, hockey, football, all are above for me. Like as far as like excitement and as much, and you don't have teams. I mean, I have a favorite player. Tiger Woods, my favorite player, but to me, like I grew up immersed in sports. It's been my life essentially. And I could basically cheer, if golf went away, I'd just be in the same spot I am now.
I don't think anyone I think you would be hard pressed finding someone who's like, yeah, like golf on TV better than hockey, or like that's.
Man, can I say something though? I have a newfound love for watching golf, which I've always thought it was like who would ever watch it, but gambling on golf is maybe like watching golf without gambling a 0 out of 10 experience for me personally. Gambling on golf while watching it a 10 out of 10 experience. It's like the best sport to gamble on.
Well, and I think this year they've really they've done a better job this year, of course, having both of the matches televised and stuff like that. But that's where golf has to go in general, just to be more. I mean, it got more popular this year in general because of COVID and people being able to play and people picking up the game. But as far as it being broadcasted and being something to watch on TV, they have so many opportunities with mic'd up, hole by hole betting, things like that I think it's just going to continue to explode.
Yeah, the betting is great. In golf on TV, I enjoy golf on TV, but like I don't know if there's people who are like diehard golf on TV fans that don't like other sports on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We've got people in the comments saying playing golf, yeah, watching it, maybe. Okay, we are going to answer. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more questions, but I think we're only going to get to 2 because we got to talk some Nuggets before we go. And the comments are asking for some Nuggets talk. They want to know some stuff from you, Adam. But first, how did your perspective as a fan change when you started covering sports? I think for me, especially covering sports for a city that I didn't grow up in, it made me realize. It made me become more unbiased, like when the Eagles lose. Before I was a typical Philadelphia fan, which I mean, sometimes I still go back to my roots. But I definitely look at it now and I'm like, well, look at the stats, look at how they played, look at the numbers. It makes sense. They had to lose. They were terrible. So I feel like I see things definitely more in an unbiased way when it comes to tough losses, or even like great wins. Adam, what about you?
Man, that's a tough one. I mean, being behind the scenes and just kind of learning different things about what stuff's going on that never comes to light, or just seeing the way that interpersonal dynamics affect things. Like, it just really makes you understand how much context there is in sports that it can be overstated. But I just think that it's always funny, and this happens almost every single week in some form or fashion, where you start getting takes from fans where you're like, yeah, but if you just knew this one thing, you probably wouldn't think that. And something I'm not privy to share, this or that. And so I think there's a lot of that where you just see behind the scenes and you're like, wow, this is so much more complicated to achieve than what people realize. And I think the game is actually simpler than many like writers want to make it seem. I love to do this stuff too, breaking down plays or diving into the analytics or this or that, because you really get to like some specific hardcore details of it. But the game's also simpler than sometimes what people make it sound like. But I just think all of the layers, interpersonal dynamics, the money, just people are actually having lives, and you never know. Like they're coming into a game with a major life event that nobody knows about, and it affects them. Like all of that stuff comes together to make weird things. And maybe the best example of this currently right now is people with the MPJ should start or should not start, or where does it go with that? And everybody as a fan only views that through the lens of the basketball, as if you're playing 2K, and it's like, well, this is my best 2K team. But there's so many other little things that add up, and I'm not saying anything big. I'm just saying it's a bunch of little things that add up that people never account for. And when you're inside a locker room or talking to a team and like get more and more familiar with them, you realize that, oh yeah, that stuff like matters way more than people realize.
Yeah, I think that was kind of the direction I was going to go, so I'll go a little bit of a different direction. One thing that was kind of tough for me to learn is that not everyone is that like fierce competitor that like lives and dies with winning or losing that you think they would be or should be. There are times where you go into a locker room after a loss and the guys are laughing, they're showing each other like funny videos on their phone or a funny tweet they saw, and like you just couldn't imagine that. As a fan, you don't even want to laugh after a loss, and you're like pissed, and you're holed up and you're having a drink or whatever. Some guys are inconsolable after a loss. They don't want to talk to anyone. They don't want to see anyone. They throw their headphones on and get on the bus. Other guys, this is just a job to them. And it's a weird thing when you realize that. And then the other thing is that like the players know whether a guy can cut it way faster than anyone else, and you can just tell by the way they treat a certain person in the locker room. Like if they think this guy doesn't belong here, they'll treat him like he doesn't belong here, and you'll know before anyone else that guy doesn't belong there.
Yeah.
Rudo, Spence.
Yeah. So I spent the first couple of teams, you call it coverage or whatever you want, essentially as a fan, no access to the locker room, independent, breaking down Avs games. And the biggest difference for me in doing it professionally now is being able to have conversations with the players, and getting to know players on a personal level is just a completely different world. The story I always use is when I first joined the Avalanche podcast with you guys, AJ and I talked a lot about how we didn't like the contract the Avs gave Pierre-Edouard Bellemare. And I still stand by that. I still don't think it's a great contract, but you spend 2 months of the offseason talking about that, and then you get into the locker room in the first practice and you have to talk to Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, and he's an amazing dude. I would interview that guy every single day of my life if I had the opportunity to do so. And it's hard to reconcile, because now I'm sitting there like, I just spent 2 months ragging on your contract, and I want to be your best friend now. I'm so sorry.
And also, you probably realize, oh man, this guy's an incredible addition to the locker room.
Right.
Yeah, right. You get a little bit of that inside information of all of the intangibles, if you want to call them that they bring off the ice and things like that. So it's definitely a different angle.
Spence?
Yeah, I would say so. Being around all you guys at DNVR and hearing all the inside stuff that I get to hear once in a while is like, it's made me have more true appreciation for how great certain players are. And being a fan, like before I was like a super fan, I think all my players are great and all other players are trash from every other team. And I've kind of grown out of that to where I can really appreciate not only the greatness of McKinnon, Jokic, Von Miller, guys like that, but also the greatness of players around. So kind of like the non-biased type of thing. Like I'm diehard Denver through and through, but like I tweet about Patrick Mahomes every week, and it makes me sick that I do it, but it's just I realize how great he is. And so I think being around all of you guys and hearing, all the coverage and And true, like Jokic, how great he really is. Like I didn't think I could think he was any better than he was. And then listening to Adam, listening to the guys on DNVR Nuggets, it just shows me how great he really is and how much to really appreciate the greatness when you have it. And when it's there, you got to take every game, whether it's preseason, regular season, postseason. You never know when it's going to be the last one for a certain player or this or that. So you got to just appreciate the greatness in the moment.
Yeah, I think with the unbiasedness, for me, it's just before I knew football, but I knew it more in the eyes of the Eagles. Now I know football in the eyes of the entire league. So it just opens your eyes to just knowing and understanding contracts with certain players. Like I know in the Broncos podcast, we hear like there's so many people commenting about quarterbacks that the Broncos should go after. And that's because they're seeing it from the Broncos point of view, but they don't realize the attachments that certain players have, and that it's just not that easy because they're seeing it from a specific perspective. And so definitely the unbiasedness just opens your eyes a little more to the sport.
Can I address a comment I see here?
Yes.
Neither Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, nor Larry Bird would be showing funny videos to teammates after a loss. Number one, do you know how difficult in 1988 it would have been to show a funny video to a teammate? Like, you would have needed an enormous amount of equipment. Yeah, like hit the come in here, guys, gather around. I just smacked the side. So first of all, there's that. But second of all, there's 3 points here. Second of all, Michael Jordan actually played golf with Danny Ainge during the NBA playoffs when they were head to head with each other. So you're talking about an opponent, and he was out, having drinks with on the golf course, this or that. He famously went to Atlantic City in the middle of playing. Also the myth here, I think it gets broken down. But more importantly, the athletes today are the same as every person on earth in that they run the full gauntlet. As RK was saying, not everyone is hyper competitive. Some aren't. So to your point, and I think those guys get, especially when they're high profile players. I think of Andrew Wiggins as famously has this reputation of he's really talented player, but he's never just had the work ethic or like drive or care. Like he doesn't care when they lose this or that. So there are those guys out there. But another thing that happens with pro athletes today that was much less frequent, maybe say 20, 30, 40 years ago, is these guys all have, not all, many of them have insane diets. Oftentimes multiple people that are informing their diets and make huge sacrifices. Michael Porter Jr.'s had like an incredibly restrictive diet since he was in 8th grade because he's been training for this. They work out 2 or 3 times a day. They just so there's levels of like commitment that gets overstepped. For some reason, people be like, yeah, sure, they have a dietitian and 4 trainers and wake up at 6 a.m. to do this and that and go into the ice tank twice a day and all this. But you know what? They share funny videos with each other, so they're not competitive. It's like, come on, man. These your best athletes and your most competitive ones, their level of competition and drive, it doesn't get seen as much as people realize, or as much as people maybe think it should, or whatever. But they're hyper competitive. I hate when athletes get questioned.
I think a good example of that is people freaking out about Drew Lock smiling on the sidelines and saying he's not competitive after a tough loss or something going on.
Yeah, and I get it. Optics matter. So, if you're Drew Lock, you have to be aware of those type of things. But there's a very, very tiny window where you get the guy who is the most talented, cares the most, and is the most competitive, and works the hardest. Like, that happens, once in a generation. And that's how you get the Peyton Mannings or the Michael Jordans and the Kobe Bryants of the world. It's everyone thinks that's the standard, but that's really as Andre would call it, the white whale.
But also, these narratives take place, I think especially nowadays, people always say it's the media creating a narrative, but what it really is just the hive mind of society, because social media is just literally everybody pumping it out. And when there's a story that everybody wants to pump as the good story, everybody just views it through that angle. And I'm not even talking about media. I'm just talking about the way we talk about. JaVale McGee is famous for this, right? He's a goofball. He did a lot of silly things, this or that. But then it took on a life of its own, so much so that everything he did was funny. And it was like, no, guys, sometimes he's just walking down the street and you happen to find it funny that he tripped or something, but he's just like a human being. So, and then the same thing goes for this guy works so hard and he wants it more than anyone else. And you start telling that story, even though there's evidence that, hey, maybe he's not quite what we said, but it doesn't fit the story we want to tell of this person. Kobe Bryant's another one. There's 2 narratives around Kobe Bryant. One that he's an awful teammate, and one that his awful teammate was what drove his success. Of course, one came after success. All of a sudden, we all changed our perspective on it. But there's a lot at play with this kind of stuff. But the idea that athletes today aren't like the best of them aren't insanely disciplined and driven, it's crazy.
Honestly, sorry,
Go ahead, Rudo.
but yeah, in hockey, the hardest working players that I've known are not the superstars. It's the dude grinding it out, barely making a living in the NHL, just trying to survive as his job. It's not the superstars. And don't get me wrong, the superstars work insanely hard too, but the guys who barely make it know that if they don't give it 150% every day, they're going to be out of a job.
That's like Jason Dose.
Yeah.
With the way that he plays and practices and really just puts everything out there. And he is in Av's world, he is a bit controversial because people love him or they hate him, but he truly like puts everything on the line every single day.
Adam, you said it. Winning and losing is the end all be all of every narrative. Bill Belichick, he is considered a genius, and it's no fun to play for him, but he wins and he does everything the Patriot way. Well, Josh McDaniels came to Denver and did everything the same way, and what was he? An asshole.
Right.
Like winning and losing determines everything.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. We have so many people in the comments asking about the Nuggets. So we are going to get to that. We will answer the rest of these questions that people asked in the DNVR Lounge on another episode. So definitely check that out. Subscribe to DNVR so you can be a part of that DNVR Lounge. We have so many channels. It's so much fun. Snowboarding, skiing, food, sports, soccer, basketball, Nuggets, all of it, where we talk about everything in there. And it truly makes it feel like a family, like a big group chat with everyone in your family. So definitely check that out. We'll be answering more questions from there on a later episode. But first, we've had several DNVR listeners switch over to Green Mountain Dental Group over the years and make them their permanent family dentist. Green Mountain Dental Group is one of the best dentists in Colorado, and they're just 15 minutes away from downtown Denver. When you go for a cleaning, x-ray, and exam, you'll get a free Sonicare toothbrush. And we've talked about these toothbrushes, Sonicare toothbrush, electric toothbrushes. They are game changers, of course. And you get it for free just by going to visit them. Definitely let us know if you go check them out. Supporting them really helps us. They've been huge supporters of us since the very, very beginning. I think they were part of my daily sports reports like 3 or 4 years ago. They've truly always supported us. So check out Green Mountain Dental Group. You get that free Sonicare toothbrush when you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam. And let us know if you head over there. All right, Adam. The Nuggets take on the Sacramento Kings today at 7 o'clock. So exciting that basketball is back. It's crazy that it's already back.
That's right. It is crazy.
What is the one thing you are most looking forward to this upcoming season?
Man, the number one thing I'm most looking forward to? Oh, that's tough. So the story for the Nuggets this year, starting out, is just Michael Porter Jr. I mean, it seems like if he can become, a part, if Denver can go from having one of the best duos in the NBA to one of the best, if not the best trios in the NBA, then their ceiling is just insane. It's championship year, potential this year. If not, it's going to be a lot harder to accomplish. So I would say that's what I'm most excited for, except for I'm half excited, half nervous, because of course, if it doesn't work out, then there's going to be some uncomfortable sort of moments. But I'll give you three things. There's Jamal Murray looked like he had made a leap, and you don't want to overhype this and put too much pressure on Jamal, but it really does remind you in parts of Steph Curry back in 2013, sadly against the Denver Nuggets. But Steph Curry was a very good player who became a superstar in the playoffs when he made this enormous leap, came back the next year, and that's just who he was, and that's who he's been since. Is the same thing for Jamal Murray? A fraction of that? Because two 50-point games only been done 4 times in one playoff series in NBA history. He's one of them now. So we know he has those heights, like his absolute peak, but can he sort of level out somewhere where his average is superstar level or star caliber? That's a huge question. And then the last one, Nikola Jokic. As Eric so eloquently puts it, it's like a gift that the gods have sent to the city of Denver. And people are just now figuring this out. We've been saying this for 5 years, by the way. This guy, in addition to being, I think, already, in my opinion, and I'm 37, I know some of the older people are going to get upset about this, although you can go back and ask even a lot of the old heads from Denver Nuggets history, and they'll tell you the same thing. I think he's already the best Nugget in Denver Nuggets history, and it's only going to continue to grow. And he looks like he is primed for his best season of his career. So you have three very interesting players, all three of which have incredibly interesting storylines entering the season, and it just makes for. I mean, I'm as excited for the season as I think I could possibly be. And it all tips off tonight.
I mean, especially the way it ended. Like, it was disappointing to see it end in that Game 7, but it was also just like, wow, to see how far the Nuggets got and the power in the team that they. You guys, did I say something wrong?
Oh, you said it ended in Game 7, but it ended in Game 5.
How it ended in the conference finals.
In the conference finals, yeah.
Yeah. I think same point though.
But yeah, I mean, the way that it ended made it just so exciting to see this new start of the season. The big question that everyone in the comments keeps asking, Adam, there's two, and is it Will Barton going to start tonight? And then the second one is all these talks about Harden and the Nuggets and that trade going through. So I'm seeing it a lot. People were like, talk about the Nuggets. So let's start off with that first question is, do you think Will Barton will start tonight?
Well, we won't know probably for another 2 hours. I think around 6:15 we're gonna hear. I think they have until 6:30 if they really want to wait the longest before they reveal who's the starter tonight. But I think it's going to come around 6 o'clock, and I anticipate it's going to be Will Barton. And I personally think it's the right call. I know there's a lot of Nuggets fans that aren't going to like that. Michael Porter still has a lot to learn about the game, but also to learn just about the social dynamics of a team. And I saw somebody in the comment earlier said, like, if Michael Porter was starting, the Nuggets unstoppable, this or that. Michael Porter started the first 3 games of the postseason. Denver got murdered, absolutely destroyed by the Jazz. They win the first one thanks to Jamal scoring like 30 points in a row in fourth quarter and overtime. Lose the next 2 big, and a lot of that was just trust. The team not trusting him to be in the right spot, him not trusting his teammates enough to pass up tough shots and this or that. And it's not. I'm not saying these things to take down Michael Porter. He's just a very young player, and he has to go through, in my opinion, these certain milestones that he hasn't really conquered yet. But I think he will very soon. If you don't force a player to check off all those boxes before they're given the reward, you get a lot of negative repercussions for that. And so that's why I think Will Barton will start, and I think it'll work beautifully for the Nuggets, but also for Michael Porter. I think he's going to be very good off of the bench early on, gain some confidence, learn about the game, and then move into the starting lineup at some point.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those things where it's just like the fans want it so bad, and the Nuggets' eventual ceiling obviously has to happen. It has to involve Michael Porter Jr. working his way into the starting lineup. But if it's, this is one of those times where I think you just have to fall back on what the coach thinks. The coach who has taken the Nuggets one step up every single year. Right. He probably has a reason for why he's doing this, and it's not to make the Nuggets worse. So, that doesn't mean the coach is always right and always makes the right decision. But usually a coach like Michael Malone, I feel like, deserves the benefit of the doubt here.
Well, like Michael Porter Jr. is, he's a volume scorer. He can make a shot from anywhere. And I think him coming off the bench, if you're a true, say you don't care about the Nuggets and you're just a diehard Michael Porter Jr. fan, he's going to get a lot more shots and a lot more opportunities coming off the bench than he would starting at the 3 with Yoke, Murray, Gary, and Paul. So I think, him scoring 20 off the bench to me is more likely than him scoring 20 as a starter.
Yeah. And also, we have to remember that Jokic volunteered to come off the bench in his sophomore season. This is Michael Porter's sophomore season. He volunteered to come off the bench. Imagine what message that sent to his teammates and has carried with him now for 6 seasons, that his teammates know this was the best dude on the team, and he was like, yo, we got to fix this, and I'm willing to take whatever sacrifice it is. I imagine every player on that roster, whether they were on the team at that point or whether they learned about this, after they joined the team, has to have such enormous respect for him that he was willing to do this. And Michael Porter is learning, and I think he said all of the right things. Nuggets fans were very concerned about it in the preseason that he came off the bench, but if you watch Michael Porter, he was with it. He was up on his feet cheering the starters on as they started the game. You make that sacrifice and you learn those lessons, it benefits you even more. Now, he might not learn those, and this is the NBA. You hold a star down for too long, or fairly or not, and maybe they start to look for greener pastures, and that might happen with Michael Porter. But it also might happen that Denver awards him the keys too early. The team loses that connection and that trust, and things go south, not just for him, but for the whole team. So to me, this is yet another in a long line of tests for Michael Porter in that, hey, man, you got to learn this. But if you do, the reward is so immense that not just for you, but for the whole team. And I'm curious, it's what makes sports so interesting. I'm so curious to see if he's willing to do those lessons. We joke that he's like Anakin Skywalker, like he's got the power and he's like, I have all this strength. You need to unleash me. And it's like, not too soon or else it could really go poorly.
Then
Hopefully,
go to the dark side.
hopefully he doesn't go to the dark side.
Oh God, he's gonna be a Laker.
The story.
Oh no! Stop it. Get that
Darth
energy out of
LeBron
here.
or something.
All
Yeah.
right.
No,
The next question is this Harden trade, and you've seen him in talks with Denver, with a bunch of rumors about Jamal Murray, MPJ, that type of thing. Even the Sixers. These Harden rumors are everywhere. So, Adam, what can you address when it comes to that? Because obviously, you might not know as much as what everyone is hoping.
Not today, buddy.
Is that happening? No.
That was
Not today.
I asked Jokic. That's what he said. So I don't know. No, well, so it's an interesting note here, maybe kind of a dark note. The Houston Rockets game has been canceled today.
Yeah.
It's been postponed. We're on day number 2 of the NBA season, the first day for the Rockets, and their game is canceled. Not because of him, we're told, although it is because of him. A bunch of players tested positive for COVID or were exposed and now have to sit out. And then James Harden, who I think would have made the 8th guy, you have to have 8 guys to be able to suit, he's suspended for team violations. So I guess in part because of Harden. But my answer is I can't fathom Denver spending 6 seasons building a culture. We just talked about Michael Porter. You have to earn it. You have to be willing to sacrifice to join in on this. To then go get a guy who's so blatantly throwing his teammates under the bus, so blatantly throwing brand new coach Silas under the bus. I mean, imagine getting your first head coaching gig, especially as a black man in the NBA, which is, by the way, this has been a thing that has been slow to develop. Black coaches just rarely get hired for whatever reason. It's becoming less of an issue. Getting your first shot, and this is what you're handed, a superstar that won't call, won't text, out at the club, doing this or that, and just completely derailing your opportunity. So to go from we built this solid culture to, oh, we're going to bring in arguably the worst culture fit in the entire NBA, that I just can't picture it. That being said, he's really good, so I'm sure Denver explored it. But at the end of the day, I don't think Denver is willing to make that. I think they would rather fail a different way than risk failing with James Harden just completely unraveling everything they've built.
So I felt the same way that you just said. For the entire beginning of these trade talks, there was a point where someone threw out like Jamal Murray and Michael Porter
That one was
Jr. and
crazy.
something else, and it's like
first
over
round.
my dead body.
Right.
Then it comes out, okay, well, the Nuggets aren't putting Jamal Murray in any trade. Okay, now I feel a lot better. Well, then it comes out after that, they're also not putting Michael Porter Jr. on the table. And so that's when I started thinking, like, all right, well, if they're able to have these talks with neither of those guys on the table, then I might be interested in what this might look like. Like, if you're just going to destroy them in the trade, then the investment is so low that you could roll the dice, and if it doesn't work, you could pull the plug, pretty quickly. What I don't see happening is the Nuggets being able to execute a trade like that without including any sort of star player at all. But if they were, I would be more open to it just because it's like low risk, high reward. If it doesn't work out, then you just move on.
Yeah, to me, James Harden forget skipping steps. It feels like jumping to an entirely different staircase at that
Totally.
point. Like, does not fit.
Yeah. I just can't see it, man. I really can't. He's a fantastic player. The only way I could see it is if he continues to tank his value. Like right now, we're talking about a top 6-7 player in the NBA in James Harden, and they're having a hard time getting interested teams. That should tell you how crazy the situation is.
Yeah.
But maybe his value just continues to tank so that he becomes a Russell Westbrook-esque contract, meaning we'll just take whatever we can get with him because we sure can't bring him back now and we can't do this. But even then, I mean, when we talk about getting him for cheap, you're still talking about multiple draft picks, Gary Harris and maybe Bol, RJ Hampton, maybe. Like, you're starting to throw out the next wave of players, not Michael Porter and Jamal Murray, but the next wave, and draft picks and this or that. And even then, I think you have to do it at that point if you're Denver, if you keep the your main port. But even then, as Nuggets fans, I think we'd all kind of like have a knot in our stomach, being like, "Oh God, this is just so different than whatever it is we thought we were building."
In the comments, someone said, "Why did Adam's take on Harden make me nervous? It's actually going to happen."
I must have done a horrible job explaining my take then, because I thought I was saying like almost no chance.
Adam, though, just as like a fan of basketball and the way that it works, is there a part of you that if you could just take away like off the court Harden, that can just think about like the dream offense that the Nuggets could put together with him on the court?
Yeah, I mean, of course, he's maybe the best offensive player in the NBA. He's that good. So, and then Jokic is right up there as well. So he shoots the ball, he plays pick and roll, he does all that stuff. He ISOs. Like, one of the things about Jokic is you can't switch. This is what makes him more unique than most bigs. A lot of times you just try to switch and say, okay, bigs can't post up even smaller guys. James Harden's going to cook a center. Like, he's so good in isolation. He's the best isolation player in the NBA, probably the best isolation player. You switch a center onto him, he's going to murder him. Likewise, if you switch a point guard onto Jokic, he's going to murder them. So the possibilities are definitely endless. But at the same time, James Harden has played a different brand of basketball, his own made-up version of that, and it's the opposite of Denver. Denver leads, one of the teams that passes the ball the most per possession. Houston almost doesn't pass to anyone. It's just one player with it. So could James Harden unlearn everything he's learned for the last 6-7 years? I don't know. I think so, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I said. We were talking about this in the Slack the other day, and I said, if Harden will play Jokic ball, that would be incredible to watch. If Jokic had to play Harden ball, it would be an incredible waste.
Right. Absolutely.
Spence, before you head out of here to go on to our Rocky show, what take do you have as that fan? You said you live and breathe with the Nuggets, so how do you feel about them this season?
I'm on cloud nine. I love offense. I love watching offense. I know defense is when it matters, especially in the playoffs. But I think they're going to be fun to watch. Facu on the bench with Monte Morris and Michael Porter Jr. And Jermichael Green's out tonight, so it'll be interesting to see where he fits in once he's back. But I think sky's the limit if they get playoff, and which we expect at this point. We expect playoff Murray. So if you get playoff Murray, you get playoff Yoke, which he's always going to be there. And they can drag a few guys along. I think, Western Conference Finals is at a minimum this year. And things go their way. They get a few bounces. Mason Plumlee comes out and blocks a three-pointer. You never know where last year goes. So I think they got a shot to be in the finals this year.
In the finals, and hopefully at that point, the DNVR bar will be popping with a bunch of fans, because that would be incredible. We had some watch parties this year, and they were so much fun. I can't imagine this place packed. Spence is heading over to the DFA, our Rocky show, so definitely go check him out. Bye, Spence. And we're wrapping it up. Thank you guys all for hanging out with us for a longer edition of this episode. But you know what? We had some awesome questions asked in the Discord, and then some Nuggets talk. Nuggets start at 7 o'clock. These guys, the DNVR Nuggets guys, Adam will be doing a post-game show on YouTube and Periscope. Go check that out on YouTube and give it a like. If you're watching this show on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe. You can even hit the little alert button, and it'll send you alerts whenever we go live with all of our shows. We will talk to you guys next week, and have a great holidays. Bye.